Hey, Monkey Nation, listen, we've been talking about this for a while now, and if you missed out on the last deal where you got $200 worth of free gear, check out what we've got going on right now. This is over at monkeyworksprep.com. You'll get a 3-month kit, and you'll save $200 right now, and that will not last forever, but for every 3-month kit you buy, you get $200 off, and that's the current special that's going. And remember, monkeyworksprep.com. Jump over there and get it now and get that food that you need to get you and your family through the crisis that is coming. It will not last forever. I'm telling you, when you need it, it's going to be hard to get. So don't wait. All right. That is monkeyworksprep.com. And you will be thankful that you did this. God bless. Monkey out. All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. Listen, it's going to be your SITREP. It is Monday. It is 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas. It is 3/27/2023, and man, the year is just flying right along. And it seems like everything is just happening at breakneck speed. We got a lot to cover today. We got a lot of unrest going on in the world, particularly Israel and France and Germany, and probably coming to a corner shop near you in the not too distant future. So let's get over here to Skyglass and kick the tires and see what's going on. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and bell for notification. As always, it helps the channel tremendously, more than you realize. So let's get over here and do this. Sitting right now at about 231. It's actually kind of a light day, even from the watch list perspective. It looks pretty light, just kind of a slow start to the week. But the news cycle, that ain't slow by any means. So let's take a look at what we've got up in the air here. Looks like the Tex 2s and the T-38 are going to be our bigger dominant numbers in the sky right now. If we take those out, that drops us down to about 168, I think that is. Yeah, my eyes aren't what they used to be. Let me tell you, I'm looking at an image about this big over in the corner trying to get current numbers. But anyway, it still looks like the West Coast is just starting to perk up a little bit. And let's kind of get into what is up. So we'll look at the watch list first, and then we'll start getting into the details. So starting in Europe right now, just notice we've got what looks to be Brio 66 getting a really hard look at Belarus, probably because of recent news cycle about that country. And then I've got a little NATO bird, a little P8 up, and that's a NATO E3 Sentry. And then a little R135 looks like it was also helping out Brio 68 there. Now we've got that one coming out of Spain. That's actually going to be a B-52 returning back to the United States. And let's see, that's a rail survey. We're going to look at those closer here in a minute too, because this is some pretty interesting data points for you there. Little E3 there in the center of the U.S. United States Department of Justice. We'll look where that one ended up as well, because that one's on the move. Remember, that one has been in heavy maintenance overhaul up in Canada for probably 6 weeks now. So, all right, then we've got, looks like a Venus training flight, and then a couple more rail surveys there on the East Coast. And then that little Dash 8 with that funny-looking Pinocchio nose on it is running routes to the north side of Winnipeg, okay, up in Canada. So, all right, it's going to be your heavies. This will be basically a very light day. Last 24-hour traces, just noticed we've got one coming from the west coast to east coast of Florida. That's going to be going from MacDill over to Patrick Air Force Base, supporting that Spec Ops community over there. And it looks like we've got two C-130s, call sign King 40, headed northbound from Patrick, it looks like. And then we've got a couple looks going across the United States. Then we get over to Europe, and it's spread out to a little bit of work there, it looks like, in Germany and Poland, up into Sweden. But it is really light. I mean, it is really light compared to what we normally see. But again, the week is early, so we'll let it marinate a little bit. See what happens here. I'm thinking the end of the week's probably going to be pretty busy. And then we've got that one. It looks like a little A400 that was down in Morocco. Let's see what else we got. Some work coming in and out of Cyprus. That's a U.S. Asset. And then that's a Saudi asset in and out of Saudi Arabia. And then down in UAE, looks like that is also a U.S. asset. Okay, let's get over here to the refuelers really light. We've got one, it looks like it left Luxembourg, headed back to the United States. And then if we get over here to the United States, you can see, I mean, just really not too much to see. Doesn't mean it's not there. Back in the U.S., we got one just to the east side of Washington, or in Washington State, to the east side of Seattle. And then we've got a little bit of work there in Central Florida, east coast of Florida, and then some stuff popping off the east coast up north and the northeast, actually over the water. And that kind of hits us for the refuelers today. Like I said, very light. I'm sure it's going to be more active as the day goes on. But again, indicator probably pretty light on fighters today too. So, all right, R-135. Now, this line's a little thin, so you're just going to have to bear with me. We've got one that looks like it flew out of England over to Constanta. Again, R-135s. This is going to be a recon bird. And then this one over the Persian Gulf, as always, looking at stuff in Iran. And believe me, from the Persian Gulf at that altitude, they are getting plenty of eyes on stuff in Iran. Now, then we get over here to Okinawa, and it looks like we've got some flights headed northbound over the Sea of Japan. Again, R-135s doing reconnaissance work. And, yeah, more active than it used to be. So there's definitely an uptick going on there. And if we get over to CONUS, which stands for Continental U.S., and then we've got, looks like we've got just our usual suspects. One looks a little movement there from San Antonio off to what looks to be Arizona. And then we've got the little snake tongue there looking out at our border down here to the southwest side of Texas. And that's going to be your R-135s. Now we'll get over here to intelligence aircraft, and you can see the usual suspects to the south of Tucson, and coming out of Biggs Army Airfield, and then out of Vegas. Then we get up here. Looks like we got a little movement from Calgary over to closer to Winnipeg, and then we've got our Dash 8. You can see is still up daily. That Dash 8 is up there daily, looking at stuff. And then of course, a little movement there from Georgia. Looks like it was headed down to the Brunswick or maybe Savannah area, and then Panama. We got something going on down there. Their eyes on, probably Chinese ships rolling in and out. Could be anybody really, but at this point, all right. And then there's Hungary. We are continuing to look at stuff in that area. Of course, we've got troops in that area. Same thing here in Bucharest. And then we get up a little further north. You'll notice that they are just kind of running in between from Estonia all the way down into Poland, really looking at stuff in Belarus because that has become a hot topic as of late. And so we really got a lot of eyes on that stuff, right? Okay, we're going to look at the drones, and then we'll get into the rail survey piece. And that'll take a little time because we're going to get into that one, trying to figure out what the heck's going on. So these are going to be your drones. It's probably a Q4, could be a Q9. It is close proximity, kind of coming out of the northern end towards Greece. And then notice it's not really venturing out too far over the Black Sea. Once bitten, twice shy, I think. And then, of course, we've got this real low-level or low-altitude drone north of Tripoli looking at stuff out over the water. I don't see anything else there. We'll get over here to CONUS. And we got our normal suspects here. With the exception of Jacksonville, it doesn't look to be online. This is the last 4 days. We've got this border stuff going down in the corner of Tucson and Arizona. And then we've got this one here that actually, again, something's happening right there at that border between Winnipeg and North Dakota near Fargo. Okay. All right. Rail surveys. Okay. Let's hit pause here for a second because we're going to get into a lot of this is going to look like a Waffle House approach here. Scattered, smothered, and covered. There were 300 and something flights in the last 30 days. So just to kind of give you a general idea of what is going on. These appear to be rail surveys, so they're looking at railroads and rail yards. My guess is because if we go to war, they've got to have a very good handle on the movement of goods across this country. And if we have any kind of I'd say the word unrest, but anything that goes kind of hot, whether it's a bank run, whether it's Trump arrest, or whatever it may be, if you have any kind of instances here in the U.S. where they need to deploy military equipment, these railroads are going to come in, become very important very quickly. Okay, so just to take a quick gander, you can see we've added to our quiver. Thank you, Hey Mama, that she fed me with all of these new tail numbers and flights. Spot on research, by the way. But look at this, from St. Louis all the way out to Washington, D.C. These are railroad surveys. They're looking at anything and everything. Notice the different altitudes, different directions. And, like I said, if we've got to start moving assets across the United States, military assets are going to do it via train. You don't drive a tank, from the Midwest to the East Coast. It just wouldn't get you there. So, all right. Now, this is the center of the United States. And then down over Dallas, right? That's probably, it's down southern side of Dallas, between Dallas and Fort Worth, up near Alliance. It's a pretty big rail yard up there north of Fort Worth. And then down into Houston. Again, this is going to be a port feed, right? Same thing with New Orleans. So one thing that I find really interesting, of course, here you got it all over the Southeast, Mississippi, Alabama, a lot of places. So anyway, the thing that I do find very interesting is the fact that there's nothing being done on the West Coast. It's all East Coast, center of the U.S. to the right. Not really seeing any work. California, Washington, Portland, Oregon, any of that. It's just nothing. It's all this side of the U.S. So that is, I think, very interesting. Again, it's a data point for you. But then let's get into this aspect. This is Ukraine. This is in Poland. Again, last 30 days, we just kind of backed up the survey time frame a little bit, just to give you a general idea. They're doing it in Poland too, which is really strange. I don't know. We'll just keep an eye on that and see if they continue. But that's a pretty big swatch. And when I looked at it closer, I was kind of running into some difficulty finding an actual railroad in that general region. So I'm sure it's there, but I couldn't find it on Google Earth. So it looked to be mainly just like farmland. So, okay, let's get into the news. Got a lot of stuff going on. All right, first up is Flashbang. It is, again, it's Monday the 27th, and it doesn't look like he is doing anything today. He hosts the Small Business Association Women's Business Summit, and probably a bunch of dudes in skirts. But anyway, that's what he's got going on today. And let's see. We get over here to Jerusalem Post. Now, this is where it starts to get really interesting. Pay attention to this one because it's not just here. It's happening all over the place. It seems to be a very large cycle of unrest happening, kind of like, in like a lion, out like a lamb for spring. So this is actually, the Israelis are staging emergency protests after this Gallant guy who was the Secretary of Defense was fired by Netanyahu. And it has actually gotten pretty out of control. This is down in Tel Aviv. I will tell you, I saw some pictures of the area last night, and it was a lot of people. So everybody and their brother are coming out all over the state. It's not a big state. Remember, it's only about 285 miles end to end. So when people come out of their houses, it's a pretty big impact. So, and then here, this to add salt to the wound. Historic strike. Israel shutting down flights, medical services, preschools, everything canceled. And they're basically, rolling this in with the labor unions, everything else. Now, the reason they're having this strike is because Netanyahu has basically ordered his cabinet to basically do a planned judicial reform. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, other than the people don't want it. And, you got to listen to the people. Otherwise, it'll be a very short term for old Benji. So we'll have to keep our eye on this one. But it doesn't stop there. Let's get over here. This is actually Germany. It's the largest strike in decades, and it bringing Germany to a standstill. In essence, it's they are striking because of inflation. They're in double-digit inflation right now, and they're fed up. And so, this is nothing's moving. They're saying airports have been shut down, the rail systems are shut down, all kinds of stuff as the unions start to strike. And that doesn't end there. Let's get over to this side of it. This is actually in France, as Macron is. This is I find interesting because what he has done is basically said that the retirement age, I think he's increasing it by 2 years or something. So instead of people being able to retire at 60, they now have to wait to 62, something along those lines. And they're not having it either. So they are all taken to the streets. And it is getting pretty crazy. Now, this little story here is just kind of an interesting deal because it's talking about somebody's rite of passage as a 17-year-old girl takes to her first protest. It's just interesting. I found humor in this statement right here, but it says the French are known for fighting and will fight. Yeah, they're not really known for fighting, folks. Just putting that out there. Anyway, there's your humor for the day. So, all right, let's move on. Now, this one you have to pay very close attention to because I believe this is greasing the skids for what is to come. Ukraine is short of skilled troops and munitions as losses and pessimism grows in the country. When they start talking about being short of skilled troops, you know what that means. They're going to be looking to NATO, especially the United States, to start ponying up some bodies to go in and fight this war. That's where they're coming with this one. You've already heard it come out of his mouth when he gave his press release. And I'm talking about Zelensky, talking about the United States will have to send their children over to fight this war. Yeah, not on my watch. But anyway, that is where this is headed. I will bet my life on it. Just like they said before, we'll never send any tanks in. Matter of fact, I believe Flashbang was the one that said, if we send tanks into Ukraine, then that's World War III. And what are we sending? We're tanks and aircraft. So next will be our kids. Okay. Now here's another one. This is over on Zero Hedge. Yeah, it's just Zelensky admits that Ukraine has already run out of ammo. Now I've heard rumors that they're taking old stockpiles, stuff from like the 1980s, and bringing that back in over here because they are out of ammunition. So would not surprise me. But this, just to kind of give you, and I think Zero Hedge actually put this one in a very good perspective for us all. It basically, it says here, this is a major revelation for several reasons. One, it proves that Russia is winning NATO's self-declared race of logistics in the sense that its armed forces still have ammo to continue fighting while the West Ukraine proxies already ran out. So if you don't have ammo, you're not fighting anything. Second, basically you're saying here that this crumbling former Soviet republic exceeds $100 billion in aid so far. Yeah, and they're out of ammo. So let that sink in, which means there's more coming. But it just goes on to say more and more things that the fact that I think we're starting to recognize the fact that this isn't going as well as the mainstream has been portraying it. Okay. All right. Let's get over here to this next piece. Now, this is, you've heard me mention in the past that both the UK and Germany have stated, one, that they are too small to fight, and that came from the UK. And then Germany actually stated that they're out of everything. They don't have anything left to give. In fact, because they've given everything they've got, they don't really have enough to fight the war themselves. So they are basically, in a roundabout way, bowing out of this whole deal in terms of providing stuff, okay? But this one here, this is a UK general, top general, said that they would need 10 years warning to fight off a Russian invasion. Nothing like showing your hand to your enemy. So, yeah, here we go. 5 to 10 here in this on this side of it. So they're just saying they're nowhere near prepared to even do this. And yeah, I would agree with that. And then the other piece too is, and we were talking about this in our thumbnail today, because they are starting to move. Now, we already know that they put nukes over in Kaliningrad. That's a port. They've got hypersonics in there. We've been watching it very closely so that we can monitor the movement of those nukes. But they're saying now that they are ready to deploy to Belarus this summer. They're actually putting in the infrastructure right now to make that happen. So when you see these flights that are looking very closely in Belarus, it's because they are looking at the movement of you know, the baseline stuff you need to put your nukes into play, as well as troop movements and everything else. But you can see one of the vehicles there. Interesting. Yeah. All right. Not good when you start moving nukes around. And hey, I do want to point out too that there's a lot of talk in the U.S. that Putin would never use nukes. But I will say this: everything that he has said has been nuclear in nature. I mean, almost everything he said, and it goes all the way back. You're talking early on, maybe 2 months after the invasion, they were already talking about nukes. So don't think for a second he wouldn't use them. Because that is his go-to on everything. So, all right, this is your Bit Defender. This is just your cyber threat attack map for today. As you can see, as always, it's been this way for 6-7 months now. Very one-directional and very heavily populated here in terms of what's coming inbound. So it is definitely on the uptick and is every time we look at it. Okay, get over here to ForeFlight. It's going to be your NOTAMs and your TFRs. Just to point out, we do have one. Looks like he's headed down to Durham, North Carolina tomorrow. That's going to be a flashbang. You can tell by the size of the TFR circle. Notice we just got a lot of things here off of the East Coast, off the West Coast. As always, this is a box. It's just danger boxes, not really, or an exercise. It definitely looks a lot more populated now than it has recently. Now, if we get over here to this side of it, we'll look at the TFRs, get a little better look at it from here. As you can see, this is the energy, the moisture and energy that's coming through in this latest round of, this is your jet stream flowing across. Anytime it's red, that's usually not good. So, but let me button that up and let's get into this side of it. Take away the jet stream, just look at surface winds. But yeah, this is the TFR for flashbang. Don't know what he's going to be doing there, but he is set to arrive there tomorrow. Again, VIP. That's how we know it's him. And not seeing too much else. We do have some power outages here from the tornadoes that came blowing through. Looks like some power outages up here as well. So, but TFR is pretty light. Got a couple air shows down here. This one over Trump still. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The one down here on the border, it's kind of a permanent one. So nothing really to speak of. So let's move on. We'll just take a quick look at Europe. You can see we've got a lot of new exercise boxes like this one here to the left side of Tripoli. And then some stuff out over the Mediterranean here. Yeah, the Black Sea, these continue to populate, haven't really changed. Same thing with Ukraine. It's been there. Switzerland looks to be new. Australia is new. And these here to the south side of Denmark are also relatively new too. So, all right, let's get into our base situation. What do we have moving? As always, the big indicator stuff that's flowing to and fro is these larger aircraft, right? 747-400s. That's what you're looking for. Not always troop related, but usually ordnance or the things that push the ordnance out related, right? So you get large artillery, especially coming out of Biggs. Could get HIMARS. There's a lot of different elements that they could be loading up, but they get quite a bit on here. So this one is arriving from Fort Campbell. This one's coming in from Houston Bush. And then we see the outbound. Looks like you've got two Atlas Airs, one headed to Valdosta, Georgia. The other headed back to Houston. And that's going to be Biggs Armory Airfield. We get over to this side. This is going to be McGuire or Fort Dix. Looks like we got one reach coming in from Ottawa, Ontario, however you say it, Ontario. Canada, I think, is different than California in terms of how they say it. Maybe. But, yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay. Air Transport International coming out of Dover. And that one is departing from Dover. And it doesn't give me a location, just showing it's a 757-200 cargo stuff, right? Or troops. Then we get over here to this side. On the arrival board, we've got, let me get into, this is actually looking at Dover. And let's see. There's that Air Transport International coming in from Fort Dix. Looks to be the only main one. And then, of course, headed to Baltimore, Washington. And then a couple other in there, but they don't, I don't think they're very significant. So Dover's a little light today. This is going to be this is Eielson Air Force Base up in Fairbanks, Alaska. Big takeaway here again, very active departures from NASA. Those guys are doing their normal stuff they do up there, right? Keep in mind that if I back this up just a skosh, HARP is kind of in this general area, I think right over here. Okay, on to what we're looking at here, Ramstein, Germany. We've got one Reach C-17 coming inbound, a German Air Force. Another Reach, that's a C-130 coming out of Belfast. And then these, that Reach looks like it just taken off. And then look at the scheduled arrivals. We've got Air Transport International from Portsmouth. And then we've got this one here coming out of Baltimore, Washington, Atlas Air. Those probably are troops, more than likely. And now, this is going to be Poland. This is the forward operating base very close to Ukraine. The big, just notice inbound, Camber Flight, Atlas Air, Camber Flight. As we get down, Camber Flight, and a UK Royal Transport. So a lot of stuff coming in today into RZE. Outbound, looks like we've got a Western Global. That's a big boy, 747-400. A Kaleta Air, 747-400. Atlas Air, 400, 747. Man, got some big, another 47400, another four. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 747-400s coming in that are moving your big stuff, big equipment, or leaving. Sorry. So they've already come in. We're just seeing them go out. It looks like some of these are troops from Anchorage, maybe, or they're bringing in stuff, ordnance from Anchorage. So on your 747. So, yeah, they're all, look at them. They're coming in as camber flights. Very interesting. Okay. And then let's see anything on the schedule. We do have this one. Notice this one's leaving there, going to Hong Kong. That's an Atlas Air, probably going back into service, if I had to guess, from Hong Kong. It's a regular stop for Atlas Air. Now, if you get over here to Atlas Air in general, you can see, just notice the stack up here of aircraft back. I mean, 3 of them almost nose to tail coming across, headed into Asia. Looks like some of these are heading into Seoul, Korea, then down here into Hong Kong, and then again, just stacked up here on this side of it. A lot of movement going on today, really. And we get over here to Europe and just notice that you've got the one in Spain, then you've got 3 of them here, Amsterdam, down here into Frankfurt, and where is it? This one right here, just out of curiosity, League. Okay. Again, that's Atlas Air, so very, very busy. And then this is your Kaleta Airs, also coming out of Europe, very hot and heavy. Their regular transports coming in and out of China. That's not unheard of. The stuff coming out of Alaska may or may not be related to DoD stuff. But National Cargo, we've got one. It looks like that's coming out of Anchorage, headed down to Chicago. That's a kind of a frequent. That's probably troops. And then down here, we've got this one here. It looks to be a What is this? Western Global? Yeah. Coming out of Florida, headed to Anchorage, Alaska. And then this one here is coming out of Europe, headed across the drink. So again, 747-400s, big boys. Okay. So now look at your camber flights. 6 of them on the board right now. Many of them are big. So those are probably, they may or may not be troops. Probably not troops if I had to guess. MD-11, that's probably a FedEx bird that's flying some stuff coming out of Bahrain. And then Sofia, that's down in Bulgaria. So very, very active from a camber flight perspective. So that from that standpoint, very more than usual, really. So, all right, this one here looks to be coming out of, where is that? So we've got Virginia Beach. We've got a Joint Base Andrews. That one out of the Middle East, and then Carswell. So that's a little plane coming out of there. Everything else is domestic. That's going to be your Navy logistics guys. Okay. And then this is Omni rolling out of Cherry Point, headed to March Air Force Base. Probably, moving troops more than likely. And then this going to be your Brits. We've got 3 of those coming out of England, and then this one out of Bordeaux. And just look to be very regional there in Europe today. And then the last thing up, we're going to talk a little bit about this one. Remember, this is, we were talking about this on the watch list. This is your FBI, DOJ, N721AL. It looks to be, well, that's interesting. Pretty low level right now, but looks to be landing out here in the Keys, more than likely. Don't see a landing site yet. But it came down out of D.C., and we were eyes on it because I thought maybe it was headed down here to Lauderdale, but it went a little further south. So we'll continue to watch that and see where it ends up going. It's a low altitude now at 4,700 feet and descending. Cruise altitude was around 24,000 feet. So again, this aircraft has been in heavy overhaul for maybe 6-8 weeks. So it's been out of commission for a while. So last time we saw it, it was actually dropping a team off down here near Trump. So, and that was about 8 weeks ago. So, okay, one quick look at Ukraine map, and we got a couple other things we're going to cover here. First off, this the green dot you see right up here, that is a police chief's car that was blown up, and looks pretty light actually, compared to what we have seen in the past from a Ukraine perspective. Now, the other piece too, this was the nuke thing that Putin said he was going to deploy the tactical nukes into Belarus. We'll just pay attention to that because that is a game changer. You don't want those in the region, especially in Belarus. It just puts them that much closer to everybody else. So that means the turn time in terms of launch to impact is significantly less when it's that close. And then the other, let's see here, there was, it was this one right here, the petrodollar. Now, this is really important. The markets don't seem to be reflecting any of this yet, but this has far-reaching consequences. Basically, what happened was Z got together with Putin, got together with Saudi Arabia and Iran. Of course, you remember he just traveled to Saudi Arabia. And what they're doing is they're trying to get rid of the petrodollar and put in the petro yuan. And they've all agreed to doing it. And so now it's a matter of basically putting all the wickets into play to start trading with this. And so if that happens and it collapses the petrodollar, it will collapse this economy more than likely, as well as many of the economies around the world. It is definitely has some very far-reaching consequences. The fact that this thing has been around, the petrodollar, since the mid-'70s, and it's kind of everybody's go-to when they're buying oil. So anyway, pay close attention to that. And it could be weeks, could be months. I doubt it's months, but again, just like with China stopping all the shipments coming to the United States. It was the nail in the coffin, and nobody is even, any wiser. You still see our politicians trying to set policy to something that's already, outdated. So, again, this will probably be the same thing. It seems like this took place, and nobody's really talking about it. So wait and see what happens. So, all right, listen, that's it. You guys be safe out there. Stay frosty. Keep that powder dry, and we'll see you on Wednesday. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworksus.com.